All right. Well, here we are. We are now live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter on KGRADB Radio and Rumble. And hello to all you guys listening to us on Spreaker. Hello to you guys watching us on Twitter or X. And hello to you guys watching us on TikTok. So I think we've covered it all. I think we pretty much got almost every social media outlet there is, except for a few others. We tried to air. It's like, yeah. Well, tonight we have a really cool show, but before we do this, you know that I always have to tell you guys about a really great site. And of course, they are our producers for the show, so we appreciate them very, very much. And I want you to go to this website, and I want you to show your love and support to them. And it's kgradb.com. KGRAD as in dog, B as in bicycle.com. They have some really, really cool shows there. And make sure you subscribe, but put Bishop as your promo code, because you're going to get 30% off your subscription. It's already affordable as it is. But if you love the paranormal like I do, you got to subscribe. They have really, really great shows there. And I'm honored to be one of the shows that they air. So, and matter of fact, we're live right now on KGRADB Radio. So make sure you head over kgradb.com. Okay, kgradb.com. And there we go. But put Bishop as your promo code. Well, you can still be a ghost and investigator and be a Christian. I am an investigator, and I'm a Christian. And we'll talk about that in just a second. Now, if you want to go to my website, it's bishopjameslong.com. Very simple. bishopjameslong, LONG.com. bishopjameslong.com. If you want to go to the church's website, that's easy too. usocc.org. All right. So, yeah, folks, right now, today is Paranormal Fridays. So we're here Sundays and Wednesdays for Bible study. We're here for about 3-4 hours sometimes. On Saturdays, we're here. We do Bible questions then. Today is Bible studies. Today is Paranormal Fridays. People wait an entire week for this. I don't really talk a whole lot paranormal during the week because I'm very strict on when it's Sundays and Wednesdays. For those of you who want to know the schedule, Sundays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I do Bible study. I am very strict about keeping paranormal separate from scripture and Bible study. I don't entertain the two at all. So Sundays and Wednesdays, that's it. Now, of course, Paranormal Fridays is tonight, Fridays. And then Saturdays is open mic, or we can talk about anything. Doesn't matter. If you want to talk about paranormal, that's cool. If you want to talk about supernatural or whatever you want to talk about, theology, we can certainly do that tomorrow. It's open mic night. But tonight is Paranormal Night. Okay. So let me address that one statement that someone says. Well, I'm a Christian. I'm a former paranormal investigator. I think the person said, and then I'm a Christian. I said, well, I don't want to put words in your. Let me just double check just to make sure, because when I looked at the text and I saw that, I thought, that doesn't make sense. Former ghost hunter and now a Christian. Well, let me just say something about that because it's very important. And that's okay that you're a former. I never really liked the term ghost hunter. I've always had a problem with that. What are you hunting? You're hunting Bambi? To me, I've never liked it. I've never liked that term, hunter. And it's not because I have a problem with hunting. I used to teach kids with the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife. So it's not because I have no issue with hunting. It's just that's always kind of set bad with me. But let me just say that very quickly. There's a lot of people that like to throw, and I'm not saying you are, but there's a lot of people who like to throw stones and say, well, you can't be a Christian and be a paranormal investigator. That is absolutely 1,000,000% untrue. 100% untrue. And I'm telling you, as clergy, I've devoted my entire life to the study of theology. And as a paranormal investigator myself, I love the paranormal. I love the paranormal community. And I refuse to, I just absolutely firmly reject the notion that you cannot be a Christian and be a paranormal investigator. And I'll tell you why. There's so many people that have contacted me through the years, thousands. I have now 15,000 messages on TikTok. I don't know how many messages on email. People through the years have asked me to come to their home to investigate it, to bless it, or they think that they're possessed. Now, let me just say something very clearly. I cannot be at two places at once, and I do not have my private plane yet, but I did play the lottery, and I spent $2 and I lost. Okay, but here's the deal. If it weren't for paranormal investigators, I couldn't do my ministry. Now, that's the God's honest truth. because this is why 20 years ago I started the paranormal clergy, which I gave that away to Rich Valdez, because that was the point, to build it up, to give it to laity so they could run it. The paranormal clergy, the whole point of that was to build a network of paranormal teams that don't think everything is a demon, that actually are professionals. And when I have a case in Washington or New York or California or Florida or Texas, I can't get to all these places. It's impossible. So I had a network of paranormal investigators who were Christians, who were loving, who were kind, and these are the individuals that said, "Yep, Bishop, I'll drive 2 or 3 hours to this place. I'll investigate for you, and I'll give you all the evidence, and then you can determine what you want to do from there." They never charged the client once. They never asked for gas money. They never asked for reimbursement. And they're the ones picking up the phone for me when I'm 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when someone's calling me and they're terrified. So I call a paranormal team. I say, "I need your help." "No problem, Bishop. We'll be out there tomorrow morning." And then they pack up all their equipment, which, by the way, the equipment is very expensive. The equipment is not cheap. And they go to these people's homes whom they don't even know. They don't owe these people anything. They don't owe them nothing, not one thing. But yet they're willing to pack up their entire car, all their equipment, and take their team to this home, to this where people are terrified, to investigate, to determine if there's anything going on, and try hopefully to debunk it. That's the goal, is let's try to debunk the activity. But there are times where you can't debunk it, where it is theological. And so they gather all the evidence, which, by the way, that takes a tremendous amount of time. If you're a paranormal investigator, and you know what I'm talking about. I mean, if you have 6 hours of investigation, you have to investigate all the film, all the audio, everything. That's a tremendous amount of dedication and time. And they do this, and they do it every time, and they never charge not one penny. Folks, if that's not a ministry, I don't know what is. That is the very essence. That's the very definition of ministry. So these people, these paranormal investigators who I know and who I love and I respect, they go out, they go to these homes, sometimes traveling 3 or 4 hours to these people's homes. And again, not charging one dime for their time or reimbursement. They spend hours investigating, hours gathering the evidence. They present all of it to me and they say, "This is our finding." So for anybody, and I'm not saying this is for a specific person, because there's a lot of people out there who judge paranormal investigators. So this is for those people who like to judge paranormal investigators and say paranormal investigators are doing the work of the devil. I don't see you picking up the phone at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't see you going out and buying thousands of dollars worth of equipment. I don't see you saying, "Yep, we'll go to this family's the house that we don't even know," and travel all these hours to get there, spend hours at the location, review all the evidence, and then contact clergy and say, "This is what we found," and never charge one dime. I don't see you doing that. What I do see you is you opening your mouth and offering complaints and offering issues about judgment. If anybody is being a Christian, it's those people who gather their equipment, who gather the team. Those individuals are being the Christians. It's not Christianity to sit and judge teams who go out and investigate and bust their asses to help families who are going through extreme. That's, you see, anybody can judge somebody. Anybody can do that. That's not being Christian. So if in my definition, a Christian is exactly what the paranormal teams go out and do every day, all the time. And again, not one time do they ask for money. Not one time. So that is, this is why I stand up firmly, and I don't give a damn what anybody says. I firmly stand up and support paranormal investigators who are going out there every day and helping clergy to determine what's going on in people's homes. They should be, you know what? Those people are the paranormal celebrities. Those individuals are the paranormal celebrities. See, anybody can look in a camera and say, "Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Did you hear that?" Anybody can do that. A clown can do that. That doesn't make you a paranormal celebrity. It makes you an entertainer. The people who are paranormal celebrities are the people who are getting in their car and traveling to people's homes and helping them. Those are the individuals that should be applauded. Those are the individuals that should be giving autographs at the paranormal conferences, not a person who looks in front of a camera and say, "Did you hear that?" So for any of you out there, any of you, if you're a paranormal investigator and you have helped clergy, I applaud you. And I sincerely, with all of my heart, I am so grateful that you and your team have generously given your time, your money, your effort into helping people whom you don't even know, and you don't owe them a thing. And the fact that you do this day in and day out, let me tell you this. You are the paranormal celebrities, and I personally 100% support each of you. And thank God for you. Thank God, because you're doing a beautiful ministry. And I cannot tell you how many people I have helped through the years, over 2 decades now, because a paranormal team answered the call to go to someone's home and investigate. And because it was for them, I was able to gather all the evidence and say, yep, something is going on. This family needs immediate attention. I raise money. I raise funds to get to the family because I don't charge either. Never have in 20 years, never will. So I go to families' homes, bless their homes. God forbid if there's an exorcism. Never have I ever charged one dime, not one dime, to go to someone's home to bless their home or performing an exorcism. Never, ever, never will I. And it's interesting because I get a lot of cases, but I'll tell you this. I have learned something in life, especially in the paranormal investigating team as far as clergy. Every time there was a legitimate demonic case, God found a way for me to get to that person's home. And that could be either through, me fundraising and busting my tail to fundraise, or it could be that someone helped me. And you know who you are. You know who you are. Okay, for those of you who are just tuning in, okay, you're probably thinking, who made Bishop Long mad? Nobody. I support my paranormal community. Next week, I am not going to be live here in the studio. But if everything works out, which we're working on things, right now, the plan is for me to be live at a particular location. And I will be on scene right there. And we will be streaming live everywhere, just as we're doing now. Right now with this live show, we'll be streaming live everywhere. I'm going to be at Ashmore Estates. And so let's talk a little bit about this, and then we're going to bring the owner in. We're going to bring the owner in and chat with him, and he's going to tell you a little bit about Ashmore Estates. From 1857 to 1869, the Coles County Poor Farm was located near the small town of Loxa. But in 1870, the county purchased land in Ashmore Township for a new farm, placing it alongside the Indianapolis and St. Louis Railroad. Now, the first almshouse building located on the property housed both the poor and insane, and soon fell in deplorable condition, and it was unsafe and unsanitary. And in 1911, it was condemned by the State Board of Charities. Now, many of the residents passed away during the first almshouse years of operations and were buried in a graveyard on the north side of the property. So a new almshouse was built in 1916 and operated there for many years, bringing hope to the destitute and allowing many to work for their bed and board, and farming and caring for the livestock on the county land. Now, Ashmore Estates, as it was called, was finally sold by the county in 1959 and was opened as a private psychiatric facility. Can you imagine the trauma there? And in October 1964, only 5 years in operation, the psychiatric hospital closed down because of debt. The institution reopened in 1965, but changed its focus from a private facility to one that accepted patients from state mental institutions. Now, the hospital became overcrowded, and there was a need for more space and a new wing, but money would not be appropriated for construction until 1977. Now, work was not completed until the 1980s, and by that time, it was too late. Due to money shortages and problems with licensing, the Illinois Health Facility Planning Board closed the facility. And by April 1986, the inmates had been transferred to other hospitals, and Ashmore Estates closed its doors. Patients, I should say. Well, 3 years later, an attempt was made to open Ashmore Estates again as a mental health facility for teenage boys, but the Ashmore Village Board denied the request due to fire safety issues and public opposition. So in 1988, a Sullivan, Illinois man purchased the property to remodel into a home, but continuous vandalism and break-ins forced him to abandon the plan. So finally, in 2006, the former asylum was purchased by a private owner, but unfortunately, tornado damage, I remember that, and other setbacks forced the sale of the building to a new owner who has also opened it up for paranormal investigations. So let's talk about now the hauntings. This is one of the most haunted locations in the United States. And after it was first abandoned in 1987, Ashmore Estates became a local curiosity and a favorite place for area teenagers to break into and vandalize. Rumors spread that the building was haunted, and many wandered inside in hopes of encountering a ghost. Some of the confusion about the ghost stories came from a fictional story that was written about the old building and the ghost of a girl who passed in a fire in the almshouse. Now, unfortunately, many have come to believe the story is true. And while this was only a fictional ghost story, there are many who claim that the old building really is haunted. And there have been a variety of paranormal events reported at the former almshouse and asylum, from apparitions to phantom footsteps and unexplainable sounds. For this reason, visitors have come to believe that many of the former inmates of the place have never actually left. So we're going to find out tonight if Ashmore Estates is really as haunted as so many people claim. And perhaps maybe next week when I go live on scene in Ashmore Estates, maybe we'll be able to show some evidence that we've captured. But tonight we're going to talk to an individual that I have met many, many years ago. And he is the owner of Ashmore Estates. Well, hello there, and how are you? And welcome to the presentation.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Bishop. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you could just let everybody know, just tell them your name and a little bit about yourself.
My name is Robin Terry, and as you mentioned, I own Ashmore Estates. I purchased the building back in May of 2014, so it'll be 10 years now. It's kind of a hobby of mine. It's not like a full-time job or anything, and anybody who thinks you're making a lot of money owning venues is really, really wrong. But yeah, I'm an insurance agent. I own an insurance agency that we specialize in collector car insurance all over the country. I live in another haunted location. It's a theater in Auburn, Illinois, that's been haunted, and it has a very strange haunting involved with that thing from the last few years. But yeah, we built a house inside the theater, and we live there, and it's about 2 hours away from Ashmore, which I'm actually out here at the property tonight. So we've got some events going on this weekend and all. And so I came out here and just kind of scampered out here from the office so we could get out here in time and talk to you.
Well, and I appreciate you doing that. That was very nice. And of course, next week we'll talk about that because I'm really looking forward to what happens next week. Because, we have an investigation that I was asked to attend, and I'm excited about it. So we talked a little bit of history on Ashmore Estates as far as when it was first established. I mean, back in 1857 to 1869. I mean, in 1870, it seems like it has a lot of history there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it was every county in the state had to have an almshouse, or as we called them back then, as a poor farm. And I always tell people when they come here, it's like, this is that your parents used to tell you, your grandparents or great grandparents would tell you that if you don't stop it, you're going to send me to the poor farm. That's where we're at. And this is what it was. It was a place where people went that didn't have money, didn't have any place to live. They may have actually been sentenced to come here from the court system, basically because they may have had some type of record, or they could have been anything from serial killers to rapists. So it was, there was abundance of different people that lived here.
Wow. So that's, and I think when you listen to, when you read the background, and you understand there had to be so much energy there. And so, but let me ask you, before we get into the real interesting questions, what made you decide to buy it?
That's kind of funny in itself, because I actually came out here, I think it was in 2012 or 2011. I came out here because I do investigations myself. I've been an investigator for about 20 years. And so I was out here to investigate the building, and it was with a tour group, and they had so many people that you had no idea. I mean, the people were everywhere. And at that time, it was a haunted house set up. And so there was like 6 or 8 of us in one area. We didn't even know each other were in the area because they had, fake walls and stuff like that. So I finally got tired of it. I'm like, I'm out of here. So I left and drove back home. And then we used to run a haunted house ourselves in the theater at our building for a charitable organization. And so we did that for 10 years, and they were selling some props out here because Scott Kelly, who owned the place at the time, was going to close it down. So I came out and bought some props. I thought, I really like this building. It's just got a cool vibe to it. So a few years later, I had a guy call me when we were selling all of our props because we decided to get out of the haunted house business. And a guy called me and goes, "Hey," he said, "I understand you're selling all your props. I'm interested in buying a bunch of them if you don't mind." And yeah, come on over. We'll take a look. So he came over and looked at everything, and he picked out a ton of stuff we had. And I asked him, I said, I told him, I said, I live here. This is where my house is. So, no problem coming over here on a weekday or weekend. It's not a problem. And so he asked me, he's like, "This is kind of cool working and living in a haunted house in a movie theater." He said, "So any chance you can take me for a walkthrough of the place?" And I said, "Sure, we'll do it." So we were walking through, and he said, we were upstairs, and I said, "So where are you building this haunt?" He said, "Well, I have one right now." He said, "But I'm closing it down because I'm going to build one in Indiana because Illinois changed their laws." And I'm like, "Where is it?" He said, "Ashmore Estates." I'm like, "Oh, some of the props you bought came from Ashmore Estates." And so we started talking about it. I said, "What are you going to do with it?" He said, "We're going to sell it." And my wife's sitting in the chair on the other side of the room going, "Oh, no," because you heard me talk about the place before, how much I enjoyed the building and everything. So I said, "I'd really like to come out and look at that place." So we came out on it was actually the weekend before, I think it was the weekend of Easter Sunday or the weekend before, and walked through the building. And there was something about the building and something when I walked through the second floor, and I'm as sensitive as a rock. I mean, I have no psychic abilities whatsoever. I'm not an empath. I don't get those feelings like a lot of people do. But there was something on that second floor that just said, "Help our building." And the theater that I bought was in bad shape, and I redid that and made that a livable structure. And there was just something there that said, "Help our building." And so, on my way home, my wife says, "Well, you might as well buy it." And I'm like, "Oh yeah?" She said, "Yeah, because you're going to anyway, so you might as well just do it." So we bought it and closed on it. I think it was May 3rd or May 4th of 2014. So it's coming up on 10 years. And came over, and what was amazing is the paranormal community. When I bought it, I came out front, took a picture of the building and put it on Facebook and said, "The only thing cooler than owning one haunted location is owning 2. And my phone blew up. People asking me all kinds of stuff about, "I can't believe you bought Ashmore Estates." And I said, yeah, we decided to go ahead and do it. And so we bought it, and everybody came out. We had all kinds of people wanted to help us clean it up. And I'm kind of different. When I bought the building, it was not, it was strange because there was no roof, no windows, no electricity, no water. The grass was 3 feet high. There was really no reason to buy it. But there was just that thing that just told me that I need to have this. And I reached out to the paranormal community and just told them we were doing this, and a lot of them wanted to come out and help. So we organized work days and came out, and I wouldn't let anybody investigate the building really until we got it cleaned up where I felt it was safe that people could come through it. And so that's what we did, and that's how I basically ended up with it.
For those of you just tuning in, we are talking to one of the owners. He and his wife owns the Ashmore Estates. It's a haunted location. It's a haunted building that is pretty well known within the United States. A lot of other places actually know. A lot of other countries even know about this. It's there's a lot of. We'll talk about some of the television shows that have been there as well and their findings. So hopefully next week we are planning on airing the show live from Ashmore Estates next week. That's why I wanted to do this show tonight, to introduce Ashmore Estates to those of you who don't know much about it, and of course the owner, and then get you excited, because this is it's going to be very cool, because next week there's actually going to be an investigation occurring. And so people are going to be investigating Ashmore while we are live. And hopefully they'll be able to come down and say, I found this, or I saw this, or I experienced this, and we'll put them on camera so you guys can see them. So we're really, really looking forward to this. And hopefully you guys are as well. I'm sure you are. Now, so yeah, Robin and Norman Terry, they are the owners of Ashmore. Ashmore Estates is located in Ashmore, Illinois. for those of you who are wanting to know a little bit about this. And I remember, of course, I've been in the paranormal community for a long time. And my first paranormal investigation was 35 years ago. And so publicly, I went public with my ministry over 24 years ago. And I remember when Ashmore was hit with the tornado, did a lot of damage. Man, it did a lot of damage. But let me ask you there, Robin, how did Ashmore Estates, from your perspective and your knowledge, become known as a haunted location?
I think with that, a lot of it, basically because some people came out and started investigating it and just had some strange experiences, couldn't explain it. And some of the people that were working the haunted house at the time had some of those same experiences, and they didn't understand it. The owners at the time had a haunted house in there, but he was, because of his he was a Mormon, and he didn't believe in it. I mean, he just didn't believe in the paranormal whatsoever, and really didn't want a lot to do with it. So, but there was enough interest, and people wanted to come out here and wanted to experience it, and so that's what they started doing. And they came out a lot more, and it just kind of, it was open to the paranormal, but it really wasn't. They weren't pushing it, so to speak. Yeah. They were, if you want to come out and investigate, that's fine, but we don't believe there's anything here that you can do it. Is kind of their attitude they had. But it was, it just took off over the years. There's a lot more people that wanted to investigate it. But I think a lot of it too was that it wasn't as popular back then because the condition of the building. Nobody wanted to come out here in a building that was falling apart from, the water coming through the ceiling, through the roof and everything, because there was no water, there was no windows. So there was birds flying in and out, and all over the place. So it was kind of tough, but there's a lot of people out here just because they were interested in paranormal, and then there was a lot of experiences.
Now, for those of you, if you're wanting to be there live next week, you can. I think there are tickets still available. I have not been informed one way or the other, but if you want, go to theurbaninvestigator.com. That's the website, theurbaninvestigator.com. And if you click on events, you will see Friday, April the 19th, 2024, and book now. So that's where you can, I'm just clicking it as I'm telling you now. And there it is. So it's going to be a 7-hour event. And this individual is pretty much in charge of it. His name, of course, not him, but it's Vince Kelly, and I believe. But it's at click on events. So just type in theurbaninvestigator.com. Click on events, and you'll see right there, Ashmore Estates. Scroll down, book now. And then, of course, you can join us. That would be really cool to have you. Really, really cool to have you. I think that would be pretty fascinating. I'm looking forward to it. Truly am. Now, so let me ask you then, since you've owned the building, can you describe some of the reported paranormal activities at Ashmore Estates that you believe are legit?
Well, I'll tell you the ones that I've had, and I know those because they were personal experiences of mine. Yeah. But in May of 14, when I bought the building, we were down there in the boiler room area, and a girl and I were down there cleaning the place up. This is the middle of the afternoon. We were down there cleaning everything up, and as we're walking out, how you step on a shoelace and your foot stops, and I told her, I said, let me tie my shoelace before we go up these stairs. I said, no, we don't fall. And so I looked down, and I'm like, my shoelaces are tied. Because something just stopped my foot from moving. And it was like, I didn't feel a hand grab it, but I felt it stop. It was like, just stop in mid-stride. It was like, didn't want me to move any further. So that was one that I had down there. I had another experience a week or two later upstairs in the third floor where we had, I was hooking up electrical, and there was something up there. And like I said earlier, I'm not sensitive at all, but there was something that was telling me to get out of the building.
Oh.
And it was just kept getting stronger and stronger, that feeling. And I kind of explain it like if you go to a party and you're looking around and you're like, I probably shouldn't be here, because you had that feeling like nobody really wanted you there. And that's the feeling I had. And I actually told the spirits of the building, I'm like, okay, if you guys are having a party and I'm not invited, that's fine. I'll leave, but I'm coming back tomorrow, just so you'll know. And so I took off and left and went out and picked up some supplies and came back. But there's probably my most credible person that's ever given me information about the building is from a 9-year-old girl that lived down the street. She lived about roughly 2 to 3 blocks down the street, and she would tell her mom that her friend from Ashmore was visiting her, and they would sit in there and sing songs and things like that. She told her that she described the girl to her. So I asked her mom, I said, ask her what she looks like. And she told her she had like a white ruffled dress on, and she had hair ribbons in her hair. Well, girls today don't wear hair ribbons. So that was something that she picked up on that would have happened back when girls were that age, back, years ago. And she picked up on that. She also picked up on, she said that this little girl, that her friend that came down to visit her mom had a candle on the counter one day, and she came out and blew the candle out. It's like, no, you can't do that. And she's like, why? She said, because my friend got hurt by a candle, and you can't do that. Well, that's the story of Elvis Skinner. She got her dress caught fire, and that's how she got hurt. And she basically died from those injuries from the fire. In the original building, not this one, but the original buildings, but right on the same grounds where this one was built. So, and she's had a few other stories too that she tell us throughout there. The one she told us at Christmas time, we put lights up inside the building and outside the building, and they were out of town that weekend. Her mom called me on Monday, say, "Did you guys put lights up over the weekend?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she said, because Autumn said that her friend came down and told her that she likes it now that you guys put the lights up in the building because she can see better at night. And she had no idea we put these Christmas lights up. So she was told by the little girl in the building, we put Christmas lights up. So to me, that 9-year-old girl is probably the best informant that I've had as far as the building, because she's not going to lie about stuff. She doesn't know how to do that.
Wow. And, and for those of you just, we will be airing this live next week. And so everybody can watch it. So it'll be streamed just like we're doing this, just like we do every Friday show. It'll be live for everybody. For those of you offering gifts to the ministry on TikTok, thank you so much for that. I apologize for not thanking you individually. Just I have 3 computers running at the same time. So, and I want to address this because I think this is very important. I truly do. People always love to give an opinion based on what? And they always say, well, all hauntings are demonic. And then I always ask them, is that based on your opinion, or is that based on the fact that you're a paranormal investigator and you can actually back it up with some type of evidence? Well, that's just my opinion. Okay, so let me just make this very clear. As someone who investigated 35 years ago was the first time that I've ever investigated. And as clergy, I work demonic cases. As an exorcist, this is what I do. And I'm telling you now, as an exorcist and as clergy and an investigator, I'm telling you, not every case is demonic. It simply is not true. And I tell you that because I'm actually there. So I'm not giving you an opinion based on just reading books. I'm giving you an opinion based on the fact that I actually work the cases. So all these people who are constantly saying that everything is always demonic, you are absolutely 100% incorrect. Anybody can give an opinion. And people say, well, there are no such thing as ghosts. The Bible says so. Actually, you're wrong. The Bible says just the opposite. In Matthew chapter 14, verse 26, when Jesus was walking on water, the disciples were terrified and they said, look, it is a ghost. Furthermore, when Luke chapter 24, verse 36 through 51, when Jesus was crucified, he came back and he showed them on the 3rd day, and they were terrified. And they said, they thought it was a ghost. That's what it says in scripture. It doesn't say demon. Demon and ghost are 2 different words. Even in the Hebrew and Greek, 2 different, totally different words. And then Jesus says, touch me and find out for yourselves. Ghosts do not have flesh and bones as you see that I have. Now, I talk about this and I say this all the time, but the trolls are always going to say something negative. If there were no such thing as a ghost, Jesus would have responded, don't be silly, there are no such things as a ghost. But that's not what he said. He actually clarified it. Ghosts do not have flesh and bones as you have, which obviously implies that ghosts are spirit form. So the idea that ghosts are unbiblical, you're incorrect. But ghosts are actually very biblical. And I just gave you 2 examples where the disciples had the concept of what ghosts were. And it also tells you that Jesus clearly established that ghosts exist, because if they didn't, he would have said they don't exist. Knock it off. So, and not everything is demonic, as everybody thinks it is, or not everybody, but there's a lot of people think everything is demonic, and it's not. It simply isn't. So let me ask you, are there any particular rooms or areas at Ashmore Estates that are known to be especially active? Because I'm going to really want to know that, especially for next week.
You know, when people come to the building and ask that question, which they ask it all the time, I always tell them that when you came on the property, you came to probably was some of the most active area, because we don't know where it's going to be. There's certain areas I'll tell people, you know, the boiler room, the kitchen area, the children dining hall, the second floor hallway, third floor hallway. You know, those, like I always tell them, if you're going to be here for 2 or 3 hours, make sure you hit those spots. But as far as, you know, like, and I always kind of refer to it as like a crappie lake or something. There's not any spot where there might be like trees planted where the fish go to, just like the spirits here in the building. There's not a spot in the building where the spirits congregate and they're just waiting for somebody. It can happen anywhere and any time throughout the entire building. And we've had experiences in every room in the building. So it's kind of I always say it depends on the group there, the energy in that group and what they're doing.
Very cool. And for those of you on TikTok, I'll leave the chat open for everybody. But obviously, if it gets to a point where the moderators can't enjoy it, we'll do sub chat only for this hour. But right now, we'll just keep it as it is. You know, there's a lot when you're dealing with a lot of haunted locations. Many times there is a particular ghost story, if you will, that is associated with that particular location. And I mean, if you look at, I would certainly say, you know, at Waverly Hills, a lot of people know that little boy Timmy, you know, who likes to play the ball and kick the ball. So, are there any particular well-known ghosts, if you would, that's associated with Ashmore?
There's two that we talk about because we can prove these two.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of one that I don't really get caught up in the folklore about things that if I can't prove it, it didn't happen as far as I'm concerned. So the one being Elvis Skinner, which is the little girl that died in the previous building, but I think her ghost is still, you know, or her spirit of the build is still inside the building and she still stays in the building. And because of the Autumn, the girl down the street, and others that have seen a little girl and had experiences in there. The other one is Joe Boxham, who actually did die in the building. He was hit by a train on his way back from Oakland, Illinois. He was walking back and got kind of clipped by a train, and some people brought him back here to the building, and he died inside the building. And we think that his spirit is still there. He was kind of the like the groundskeeper, caretaker of the building. He was a you know, a lot of the people that there were autistic, or, you know, has some type of even during the pork farm days, you know, they may have been autistic or has some mental issues, and they gave him a job to do because they felt that giving somebody like that a job would help them out in, you know, in life. Yeah. And so he was kind of in charge of everything in the maintenance area. So in the boiler room area, in the maintenance area, he's pretty much headstrong that especially women should not be down there. And we get a lot of women that have a lot of experiences right there in that particular area.
Now, I talked a lot about the paranormal, of course, investigations, also demonic and poltergeist activity. And I'm a firm believer. I've had poltergeist cases before, and poltergeist, for many people who don't know, poltergeist means noisy ghost. But from my perspective as an investigator, as clergy, I have found that it's not a ghost at all. It's actually negative energy that someone who is omitting because they're going through extreme emotional stress. I can perform minor rite exorcisms on many locations, 1,000 of on a particular location, and it does nothing at all to a poltergeist activity, because from my experience, it is the negative energy that someone is omitting. That's not. Think of this: you're walking down the street, someone's walking towards you, and you don't know the person, but you know you don't want to know the person, so you go on the opposite side. That person is omitting the negative energy. It's just energy. Or a person can walk into a room, not say a word, and people flock to that person. It's positive energy. And I have found that when you give the person, or you find the person therapy or counseling, the activity will dramatically stop. But there's a lot of people who, in my opinion, get poltergeist activity confused with haunting. But again, that's a debatable topic. Now, poltergeist activity, from my perspective, when I have found them, is the number one form of destruction with poltergeist is fire. In every case that I've had, either electrical appliances catching fire, wiring catching fire, there's some type of form of fire. Light bulbs will pop, the smell of wires burning. Based on that, have there been any documented instances of like light bulbs popping or the smell of like wires burning?
Now, I mean, since I've owned the building, no, there hasn't been anything like that at all in the property. we've never had anything like that. Personally, I think it's a very safe building to investigate.
Mm-hmm.
My grandkids go through the building all the time. They actually come out and play every once in a while. We run kids days. We've been doing that since 2016. We have kids days twice a year, and then we've been doing a teen night the last couple of years or last year or so. And if I didn't think it was safe to bring kids out here, we wouldn't do it.
Fair enough.
And but I don't see anything negative. I mean, I've always kind of thought that however you were in your regular life, your real life,
yeah,
it's the same probably going to be in the afterlife. So if you were a kind of a crotchety old guy in in your normal life, by the way, you're going to be in the afterlife. And some people construe that as being demonic or something, and it's not. They're just a pain in the butt, to be honest with you, is what they are. So, but yeah, and we've got some of that at times where somebody gets a little bit, cantankerous, so to speak. Maybe a spirit might be, but I think that's just the way they were in regular life.
Now, of course, we know there's been a lot of investigations at Ashmore. Can you tell us a little bit of the television shows that have been to Ashmore and what they captured? Anything that makes you like, wow, that is pretty cool?
Well, there's been basically 4: Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, and Destination Fear, and then Jack Osborne.
Yep.
I think the Ghost Adventures episode that was there, I think a lot of that there was completely negative, completely wrong.
Yep.
It wasn't factual, and I found proof to that. So I'm going to touch on that one. Ghost Hunters, when they were out here, they came out a year or so after Ghost Adventures, and I think they were out here. They basically said there's nothing in the building. This is after Grant was gone, but Jason had mentioned that there's nothing in the building. We don't think it's haunted at all. I think that was kind of trying to be a negative force. Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters at the time were bumping heads, and I think that's what they were trying to do. Destination Fear, they were out here, and then actually they were out here in 2015 before they ever had the TV show, and they had some cool stuff going on and had some experiences and all. Well, then they decided to come back, and they were out here. This was actually the last place they shot their last year that they had their season 4. The last place they shot. They started here and they wanted to end here, and they caught whistling upstairs that Tanner heard with his own ears. And we've actually caught that in the building ourselves. And in fact, I haven't personally myself heard that whistling. And it's not just a whistle like the wind blowing through a window. It's somebody whistling a tune. And we heard that thing. And they had a lot of other experiences as well. Jack Osborne, when he was out here, they had some names, basically his name and Jason Kennedy, Jamie Kennedy, his name came across the spirit box. And they had a lot of personal experiences. They also brought cadaver dogs out here. And they found the cadaver dogs, all 3 hit on a particular area on the property where they said there was a body buried. And those cadaver dogs, I gave them the name of the people. So it wasn't like it was a plant that they brought out here and just said, go out here and tell them this is where the dogs hit. And that wasn't the case. They didn't even know these people when they came out here. I gave them the name, they called it, they came up, and they did their thing. And it took a while. I know you've been involved with some of the shows and all. I mean, you were involved like with the Blues Brothers and came out here maybe. And some of the shows, they're cut down to like 42 minutes to an hour show. So they have to cram everything in. And you don't see everything that happened. You just see, the highlights of what happened while they're out here investigating for those 2 or 3 days.
Yeah. And of course, that's, there's been a lot. So besides the whistling, what else has been captured in your perspective?
Oh, I mean, voices all the time. We hear a lot of people, but disembodied voices, you hear that, quite a bit, quite often. Shadows are huge in here. I mean, I've had people that have sat there and just in chairs at the end of the hallway and just watch shadow figures crossing the hallways. And just sitting there, just almost like they were having, basically some of them were. They were sitting there eating popcorn and potato chips, watching shadow figures. It was like it was a show. And I had one of the girls that helps me out here. They chased a shadow figure through the entire building for 5 hours one night until they finally said, "We got to go to bed. The sun's coming up outside." And so it was like the shadow was playing games with them, chasing. They were chasing all over the building, and the shadows going around room by room, different places everywhere.
Yeah, of course. For those of you who, if you Google Ashmore Estates, there's a lot of really cool pictures that are online, and you might want to try that if you've not done that. Really, some amazing shots. So, in your perspective, because a lot of people will ask me about shadow people, and there's a lot of theories on what they are. So, How would you define a shadow person from your perspective?
I think that's basically the energy from a spirit that's in the building that may not be able to manifest completely, but it's able to manifest enough that you can tell it's a person. We just saw one a couple weeks ago when we were doing the Some Call It Home event out here. Another guy and I were standing down there on the first floor, and I looked down in the hallway, and I said, "Are you seeing that?" And he's like, "That shadow on the floor?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's moving." And there was nobody down here except us. And we walked down and we were able to recreate that shadow by walking up the boiler room steps. Like somebody just walked out of the boiler room and just kept on moving. And
Wow.
so we can make that shadow that way. So I think it's basically just somebody just cannot, it's a spirit that they just can't form a complete body figure, but they can get enough energy that they can turn themselves to basically look like a shadow.
When you have when you have a haunted location, especially in the local area, there's always local legends and folklore about that particular haunted, location. So are there any local legends or folklore surrounding Ashmore in the area?
Well, they've talked before about a preacher that jumped out a window, committed suicide.
Oh.
Never found anything about it. That was supposedly happened in the 70s. If that happened, there had been stories out there. It's not there. So we just, we just kind of walk away from it. And as I mentioned earlier, we don't even talk about any of that type of thing. If we can't prove it, it didn't happen as far as we're concerned. Because I think as a venue owner, I want to keep it as honest to people as you most possibly can.
Sure.
You're always going to have people that are going to come out here and say, "We talked to so-and-so or so." I'm like, I have no idea if that person's in the building. They could be. There was 200 deaths in the building. So, there's a lot of names that pop up that I don't always have. We don't have records for. One of my favorite ones though was a couple was down in they were down in the boiler room, and they came out and asked Terry, and I want to say it was James Green. She's like, "Do you know anything?" She's like, "We were asking on our spirit box, and we got James Green, first and last name," which is kind of unusual in most cases. You only usually get a first. And they said, a James Green that died here?" And they're like, "No." Well, they went back and Googled it, and I may be wrong with the James Green. So if somebody Googles that, it may be the wrong name. But they Googled the name that they got, and they found the obituary where the gentleman died here at the Coles County Poor Farm.
Wow.
And because they pulled it up, did the obituary for Ashmore, Illinois, and it pulled up and said he did die in the Poor Farm. So that was pretty cool when they got that across the spirit box, and they were able to confirm that he did die here.
So this is a spirit box. So the folks, those of you who know it, that's a tool that you can use, and that came through on the spirit box, and that's pretty interesting. Now, when people visit Ashmore Estates on their own, are there guided tours, or are they just allowed to walk around on their own? How does that work?
We kind of do it both ways. We take when we do the investigations like the one that's going to start over here in the building in a few minutes, Ashley or whoever's here, Terry, Abby, Holly, whoever, will take them through a tour of the building and give them the history. We never really give them the paranormal side of things unless they ask for it, because I don't want to put something in somebody's head that's going to happen, because a lot of times it will, just because they think it's going to happen. So we usually just give them the history of the location and let them know about that, and then kind of like let them, they're on their own after that. Or we do 2-hour tours. We'll do the same thing. We'll take them through for like a 30-minute history, and then just kind of turn them loose. Or if somebody comes in and said, "I don't want to know anything, just tell me where I can't go," and we'll do that as well. So it's their night. However they want to handle it, that's what we do.
Now, did you have to go since you're about to do a tour, or
no, I don't have to.
Okay.
Somebody else is doing it.
Okay, excellent. So now, what about have there been any reports at all from people investigating where they've experienced physical sensations, being touched, or being the hair being pulled, anything like that at all?
Yep. In fact, what I like to do when I'm out here is, and I'll probably go excuse me, I'll go over there tonight and sit outside a little bit, and I always tell them, like, if you have any experiences in the building, come outside, tell me what your experience was, but don't tell me where you were. Let me see if I can tell you where I think you were. And which amazes a lot of people, because they'll come outside and tell me that they had their hair pulled, or they had one of the best ones is that somebody feel a rapid heart rate. Their heart rate changes. All of a sudden, his heart starts speeding up. And I'd be able to confirm usually, where they're at in the building when that happens, which I think kind of helps them, because then they feel that I've confirmed exactly what the experience that they had because others had that same experience.
Sure.
In that same area or same location that they had it.
Now, what about the local community? I know there are some people that may not be on board, perhaps in the local residents, knowing that they have a haunted location that's known. So how does the community in Ashmore handle having, of course, Ashmore Estates being known to be haunted?
Well, when I bought the place 10 years ago, I faced a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, I faced some negativity.
Okay.
A lot of it, though, was because the building looked like hell. I mean, it was just bad shape. The grass was 3 feet high and everything. So, in fact, I had one farmer came over, and the first weekend I bought it, he came over and said, "You need to get that metal out of my field." I'm like, "I just bought it yesterday. I guarantee you that stuff will be on by the end of the weekend." And he's like, "Yeah, I've heard that before."
Wow.
And a year later, he drives in the driveway, and he comes out. He's like, "People in Ashmore are talking." And I'm like, "I don't know that that's good." And he's like, "No, they can't believe how nice this place looks compared to what it has over the last few years." So I think that they looked at it before, and now they look at it, and it's totally different. I mean, it's no longer the eyesore in Ashmore, Illinois.
Sure.
It's it's cleaned up. It looks nice. It's I mean, we've had the town from Ashmore comes down. We do usually try to do 1 or 2 tours a year, just free tours, basically just kind of an open house, and we ask people just to bring in food pantry items or hygiene items, and we donate it to the Ashmore, Illinois, their food pantry. So I figured, it's a poor farm. Let's collect goods for people that need help, and we take them down the food pantry and donate down there each year. And a lot of people came through. It's like, I've always wanted to come to this building, but I never wanted to come into it the way it looked. And since we've cleaned it up, they've came through a lot more than they ever did before.
So let me ask you this: I've talked to a lot of people who have ownership or who have owned haunted locations. And they've dealt with a lot of paranormal investigators and individuals, perhaps maybe even celebrities, who go to the location and they do a lot of provocation. They do a lot of things that they should not do to hopefully get that demonic activity. Has that happened there at Ashmore?
No, I mean, I've had one gentleman that came in, and in fact, I don't think he really provokes. Brad Kling, who was on a TV show called Ghost Lab. Brad came in and he was calling out the one spirit in the boiler room that supposedly picked up one guy and threw him across the room. And he was trying to call him out. It's like, "Hey, you want to fight with somebody or you want to pick on somebody, pick on me." And if you don't know Brad, which I think you probably do.
I do.
Brad's like 6'5", 300 pounds.
Oh.
And so he didn't have any experiences like that picked him up, threw him, but he actually had an experience that the temperature in the room dropped about 25 degrees that day.
Wow.
While he was down there. So, but we don't have anybody who comes in and really does a lot of provoking. We ask them not to.
Good.
I mean, I don't know what they're doing when we walk away, but we've just asked them not to. And we kind of tell the people in the building, the spirits in the building, they're going to provoke, just walk away from them. And it's like, just don't even be there. So I think that kind of slows it down too.
Do you have any artifacts at Ashmore that are believed to be cursed or even haunted?
Not at Ashmore. We actually have the bed upstairs. We've had some people that have had some experiences with it, and they've sat on that bed. They've had, in fact, when Jack Osborne group was out here, Jimmy Hughes had an experience. When he laid down, he just felt like when he got up, it's like vertigo. He's like, just felt really dizzy and all from laying on the bed. But that was probably the only thing. That's the only piece of furniture we have that's from the original poor farm or from the hospital. That's it. Everything else has been brought in.
So, let me ask you: has there ever been any like a controlled study or something where people can present to you, even though you've already had your experience, where perhaps an investigator shows some type of investigation and saying, okay, there is either a picture of a full body apparition, an EVP, which stands for electronic voice phenomenon, for those of you who don't know. Has there been any type of evidence presented to you that when you present to this public, you can say, look, this you're not going to be able to just toss away and say, oh, that's nothing, this is a legitimate evidence? Has it like the holy grail of evidence, if you will, has there ever been anything captured that would blow anyone away?
Probably the one here. Actually, that's kind of a two-part. First, I get a lot of people that send me photos and EVPs and things like that. I was not there when they did it, so I can't honestly say that what they send me is legit.
Fair.
And in today's world, I think there's people who would love to send you something, and you say, "Yeah, that's great. I love it. That's perfect." And they're like, "We faked that."
Right.
And so we know that this guy's probably allowing fake stuff to happen.
Yep.
So unless I can actually prove it myself, but I did have a group that was out here years ago, and they had a balloon tied to a chair upstairs, and at about 6:40 in the morning, the one girl told me that she felt something touch her shoulder. She was in one of the bunkhouses we had, and she felt somebody touch her shoulder like 3 times, like trying to get her attention. Well, when they went home and looked at their evidence and everything, they had about 6:30 in the morning, you could see the strings on this balloon. It was a helium balloon, and you could see them come unraveled and start floating up to the ceiling. And I mean, there's the strings hanging straight down, but something untied that string from the chair and let it go to the ceiling.
That is very cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And there was nobody there. I saw the video, and they were in bed when it happened. So because I was out there at the building, and I was out there when that balloon went up, but I was outside the parking lot. I hadn't gone inside the building yet. And it was, but yeah, I know that was not fake. They had nothing to do with that one at all. There's a lot of people have the experiences that I talk about, and I trust them, but getting something that's sent to me, a picture or a video, I'm kind of apprehensive about sharing it out there.
I understand that. That's very valid. Very, very valid. So what about the, how do ghost stories and perhaps maybe urban legends, has there anything there with hidden passageways or secret rooms at Ashmore?
There's no rooms like that here. We've had people talking before about that they had something like that, and so they that they thought there was some hidden area or something like that, some mine shaft thing or something. And we're like, there's nothing like that out here. And we've never found anything. I've been out here for 10 years, gone through this building head to toe, and I know there's nothing like that whatsoever out here.
And do you know, has there ever been the minor rite of exorcism performed on the location by anyone because of the alleged demonic activity?
Nothing that I know of in the last 10 years. I do know that there supposedly was some satanic worshipers.
Oh, wow.
Back in when the place was closed down and when it was abandoned and it was sitting out here. I mean, you always get that, those people that come in like that, and they're probably doing things with, that they probably shouldn't be. And so supposedly there was stuff like that. I don't know that that's true. I've never found anything on it. I've never read anything. I've gone through newspapers from back when the building was built forward and never came up across with anything where they were arrested or anything for trespassing. But yeah, I've heard stories like that.
And of course, for those of you who are just joining us, I encourage you to go to Ashmore Estates website. It's ashmoreestates.net. Pretty simple, Ashmore Estates.net. And when do you have the investigations, the tours? How does that work?
Right now, we've got our public investigations set up. The ones in April and May are sold out, but we do have some coming up after that, in June, July, August, and all that. We've got public investigations where we only allow 12 people. We sell 12 tickets, and that's it.
Wow.
In the building, and we wanted to keep the number fairly small. They can stay out here from 7 o'clock until 2 a.m., or they can purchase an extended ticket where 4 of them can stay up until 10 a.m. So they can be in the building basically for 15 hours if they wanted to. And we do that. We don't have tours scheduled yet, but we will in October. We'll have some then. And then we'll also have some throughout the year when we get a chance to get them all scheduled. We do private tours anytime somebody wants to, pretty much. So they just get a hold of us and we can set that up. Same thing with investigations. We do private nighttime or daytime investigations. Our Saturday nights and a lot of our Friday nights are booked. Saturday nights are all booked up until November 30th. Friday nights, we've got some that are coming up in July and August that are still available. But we do things pretty much like 7 days a week if possible.
Now, what about the animal shelter benefit? What can you tell? Because I was looking at your calendar and I clicked on it. The animal shelter benefit. What is that about?
Yeah, Christy Ayers contacted me. She was going to do a benefit for somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and then they contacted her and said, "Hey, we've got things taken care of. We don't need the assistance now." So she asked me if I had a problem with turning over to setting up for Coles County for their pound, the animal shelter there. And I was like, "No, that's not a problem." So the money is collected from that, and those tours there. That's coming up in a couple weeks,
Mm-hmm.
or next weekend. Yeah, next Saturday. So that'd be a good time to come out. You can do it. It's gonna be I think they're a couple hours long. I don't remember exactly everything she's doing because I pretty much told her the building's yours. I'll donate it to you. You can do that and get it taken care of. But I think it's like $20 or something like that. And you come out for a couple hours and they'll do a tour of the building and then like a mini investigation too. So it's a good time to see the building during the day, which I think, you can have as much experiences here during the day as you would at night.
Yeah, of course. For those of you who don't know, it's a and I think that's wonderful. And you guys are on Central or Eastern time?
We're Central time.
So that's 12 p.m. Central time, and it's $20. And of course, it benefits the Coles County Animal Shelter, and I think that is fantastic. So if you've not been to Ashmore Estates, and you want to go check it out, and you want to also, you're a supporter of our fur babies, and you want to help out, this will be a great opportunity for you to go there. That event, it will be there on the 20th. So the 19th, I'll be there for an investigation, and then the 20th is when the animal shelter event is taking place as well. But you got to go to Ashmore Estates. Thank you very much, Ellie. AshmoreEstates.net. AshmoreEstates.net. Buddy, I want to thank you so much for chatting with us, and I really do look forward. I really look forward to hopping on over there next Friday if everything works and we are ready to push forward. And I think it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, it'll be great. In fact, I've already got it set. It's a go.
Oh, good, excellent. Well, the reason I say it may perhaps, we were talking earlier about perhaps some scheduling issues, but everything is good. So rock and roll. Then it's locked in, locked, sealed, and I will be there on next Friday live. So I'm looking for it. Thank you so much for chatting with us, man. I appreciate it so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for asking me on.
You have a great day, and I'll see you next week.
Sounds good.
See you then. All right, buddy. All right, bye-bye. Okay, everybody, that was Robin Terry. That's his name, Robin Terry from Ashmore Estates, who owns the building. He and his wife, Robin and Norma. So I'll be there. So here's the deal. For those of you who don't know, next week, I will be live at Ashmore Estates, and we'll be doing the show right there. So I'll be on Facebook, YouTube, on Rumble, KGRADB Radio, on Spreaker. We'll be live on Twitter. We'll be live on TikTok. We'll be live on all of our formats. We're going to be live. And the goal ultimately is for me basically to have what's called a base, if you will, or a base camp, a setup camp. And then we set this location. And the idea, the goal is for investigators, because I think there's going to be about 50 people there. So it's going to be plenty of people. They're going to investigate. Hopefully they'll come on air. They'll talk to you guys about what they saw, what they experienced. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're really, really looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to it as well. So there we go. It's next week, next Friday. Remember, thank you, Clifton. Thank you. Remember, next Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget. Not for sure, Joseph. Not for sure. Okay, so 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be live. So we're going to be rock and roll. And by the way, if you want to go and you're interested in getting tickets, then you need to go to the website, theurbaninvestigator.com or you can go, but you have to go to the website to order tickets. Theurbaninvestigator.com. I'm not getting paid, so I'm not getting paid for this event. They've asked me if I would like to join and do the show live there, and I said, yeah, absolutely, yeah, I think that'd be fantastic. So thank you, of course, Judy Ann, for helping me get there. That's wonderful. Well, if he wants me to, Jeannie. So theurbaninvestigator.com. Okay, theurbaninvestigator.com. Click on events. Scroll down to where it says book now. Now, if you really want to go, you really need to make sure you get your tickets. because if they sell out, they sell out. They can only sell a certain amount of tickets, and that's it. That's all. So I have no idea how many tickets that they've sold. I don't know. But I'm just letting you guys know now that apparently they have a few more tickets left from my knowledge. And so there you go. So the urbaninvestigator.com. Thank you there, Bill. So how can we help get? Judy Ann helped me. So we're good to go, and I'll be heading over there. It's about, from my understanding, maybe about 4 or 5 hour drive. A little bit longer than I thought, but that's okay. That's okay. So I'm going to get there. I think it's Judy Ann. I believe it's a day before, isn't that right? I believe I'll be getting there Thursday to set everything up, because I don't want to drive 5 hours to get there, then try to set everything up that day. That would be just too much. That's too much. And so I think I'll be getting there, I think, on Thursday. And then, okay, good. Yeah, Judy Ann said yes. So I'll get there on Thursday, set everything up at the hotel, chill, relax, and then Friday show up. And because it's a lot to take over. As a matter of fact, I just checked the laptop to make sure that laptop is running on StreamYard, which it is. So we have it. There we go. Yep. Okay. Excellent. Do the show. Back on the X. Good. Okay. I'm not a big fan of tarot. Yep. Braden, you absolutely will be allowed to get into heaven if you have a tattoo. Yes. And I don't know why people, I know it has nothing to do with the paranormal, but here's the deal. I've talked about this before quite a bit, actually. There's a lot of people out there who are using the holiness code to judge other people. The holiness code is part of the old covenant. There's 613 laws in the holiness code. And they say you can't be Christian and have a tattoo. But yet they're going to judge you based on the 613 laws, and they don't follow them themselves. You can't cherry pick the holiness code. That's not how it works. So if you're going to judge someone and say you have a tattoo and you're not following the holiness code, and neither are they, and that's exactly why Jesus called the Pharisees the brood of vipers, hypocrites, because they were holding people to an account to follow 613 laws they themselves weren't following. And we're no longer, by the way, under the old covenant. We're under the new covenant. And by the way, the tattoo was talking about the imago of Yahweh. It was talking about having the image of false gods. That's the whole point of that was written for the tattoo. So again, you can't take scripture out of context, and a lot of people do. So no, that whole thing is just silliness. Okay, the Urban Investigator. Don't forget, theurbaninvestigator.com. Yep, that's fine. But again, folks, here's the deal. And I appreciate the theology questions. I appreciate that. Today is Paranormal Fridays. I'm here Sundays. I'm here Wednesdays. I'm here Fridays. I'm here Saturdays. 3 days out of the week. Sometimes I'm on for 3 hours. You know, we focus on theology. We focus on Bible study. We focus on scripture. We focus on 3 hours at a time sometimes. So tonight's paranormal. That's what we do tonight. And I think that's fair. So make sure you get your tickets, theurbaninvestigator.com. Okay. And thank you very much for Robin for joining us. Hopefully you enjoyed it. It's really cool. It is really cool to chat with somebody and get their perspective on things. I tell you what, get this, it's when you experience the paranormal, it's for some people, it's kind of scary. It's scary. So listen to this. This is kind of funny. I wanted to share this with you. When I read it, I thought, I got to share this with everybody. And by the way, if you have questions about demonology, paranormal, you can ask them now. So, and I would be more than happy to entertain them. This is from Reality T. Well, Melissa Gorga, I have no idea who she is, but apparently she's a celebrity. Okay. She believed that the earthquake was paranormal, and she almost called 911 because she thought that there was a ghost. So this says here, again, this is by Amy DeVore. It says, "Dear Melissa, the next time that I'm back up in New York City, can we please meet up and have a drink? After the recent earthquake that hit the Northeast, your response was so out of the box that I just want to sit and listen to what else you got to say on everything. She said, really, seriously, we don't even have to discuss the Real Housewives of New Jersey. Okay, I think that's what she is. So anyway, she thought that the earthquake was a ghost. So as for the words on her post, these were pretty standard, as she explained that she just went running up my stairs from the basement, working out while calling 911 because it sounded like a stampede was going on upstairs. And then I got a notification on my phone that my front door was open. I was freaking out, and that was the first. She said, okay, look, so I mean, there's a lot. Look, if I feel, okay, I've never experienced an earthquake. Okay. But I live in Kentucky. So we are on the New Madrid fault line. So it's quite possible that we could have one. It's probable, actually. But if we start shaking, I'm not going to think it's a ghost. That's not going to enter my mind. It's going to be thinking, okay, I probably need to get out of the house because I don't want to come crumbling down on me. So it's just, do you believe that people that go to the cemetery? Do I believe that people go to the cemetery for what you had to finish? So you had to help me out with that one. Okay. Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand. Nonfiction demonology book. Okay, so someone was asking about what's my favorite. And for those of you who are going to say you don't answer our questions or you're not answering my question, you'll be ignored because we don't do that here. That's gaslighting. We don't do that nonsense here. I have 3 different computers running at the same time, which means I have 3 different multiple chats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chats open right now. So I can only do so much. So I have. We're not going to get into the you don't answer my question things. You know what? We're not in grade school. I'll get to them if I can. If I can't, I'm sorry. But listen to this. I wanted to share this with you. This is from TK Randall. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. TK Randall. This is eerie. Yeah, we'll do that. May I ask the criteria to say a home has a demonic attachment? Yeah. I'll do that. I'll answer that in just a second. Just remind me. A ghost hunting woman, I hate that term, ghost hunting, dressed as a vampire, found deceased in an old church. So the young French woman was found deceased at an abandoned church in northern Italy's Oesta Valley a few days ago in a strange and disturbing case that perplexed local authorities. The 22-year-old was found deceased with most of the blood drained from her body after being stabbed with a camping knife. 3 gunshot wounds were also seemingly inflicted on her body after she had passed, and someone had, for some unknown reasons, scraped some of her blood off the floor and taken it with them. And the case could potentially be connected to the mysterious disappearance of 2 other people in the same area. The church in which the woman was found is abandoned and has gained something of a reputation for being haunted. Now, police believe that she may have been there as part of a social media ghost hunting challenge that is currently popular in France. Witnesses reportedly saw both her and a male friend dressed up as vampires in the general area before her passing and noted that she had looked pale and emaciated, like a walking corpse. That's quote. And police are also investigating the possibility that she had become involved in some form of ritualistic sacrifice or even consented unaliving, or that her presence at the church was part of a social media prank gone wrong. Detectives are focusing their efforts on finding the male friend who was seen with the woman, as well as the owner of the burgundy van that was spotted on the CCTV near the church the previous week. That is crazy. That I'm going to have to put this to the side and do a follow-up on that because I tell you, yeah, I haven't forgotten. I just got to make notes of the questions. A nonfiction demonology book. I always tell people, Hostage to the Devil is a fantastic book. That's a very good one. So Hostage to the Devil and Dark Siege. Darksiege.com. Jason McLeod is a friend of mine, and he actually worked with the Warrens and was trained by the Warrens. I knew Lorraine, so I was friends with Lorraine. I did not know Ed. And he actually worked and was trained by the Warrens. And he has some amazing books, amazing books. And go to darksiege.com. Yep, Darksiege. I think they're Judy. Darksiege.com. They are, oh, thank you there, John. They are fantastic. And I'm telling you, I endorse the books because they are just, the way he writes is so brilliant that he actually, you feel like you're in the scene. And you're not going to want to put the books down. I can promise you that right now. I read one chapter and it was getting 2:00 in the morning. I was like, I got to read what happens next. I got to read it. It's a true story. It's a true case that he worked. And I believe he's working on a third one from my understanding, or he had finished one. I'm not for sure, but I encourage you, darksiege.com. Very, very good book. Yeah. Malachi Martin, Hostage to the Devil, is very good as well. Demonic attachment. Now, there's a difference. What someone was asking about demonic attachment versus demonic infestation. Please understand the demonic attachment is different from demonic infestation. So if you have demonic infestation, so for example, you go out to a paranormal location that's known to have a demonic element to it, and you say, is anybody here? Can you do something? Can you make a noise? Can you push me? Can you touch me? That's invitation. The demonic is attached. You then go to your home. Now, automatically, you're going to have demonic infestation. So demonic infestation means the manifestations could be variety. Religious objects will be desecrated. Sometimes you'll hear the bangings of three, but not always. The smell of sulfur or rotten flesh will occur. It's that overwhelming sensation of dread. I mean, it's just overwhelming. You don't need a psychic to tell you there's a demon that's present. Now, demonic attachment is when it begins to interact with you on a physical level and then on intellectual level. Thank you there, Clinton. Is it Clinton? Thank you. So demonic, when you have a demonic attachment, and there are 3 stages that leads to possession. So you have demonic infestation, which I've just talked about. Then you have demonic oppression and obsession. So that's both, but it's still one stage. So demonic oppression is when it's beginning to physically attack your body, breaking you down, and it's breaking the will down. So folks, I'm not going to answer any more questions because I'm answering a question. People are getting mad at me sending me messages on Messenger. Why aren't you answering questions? Because I'm answering a question. People just, the entitlement is just ridiculous. It's just, it drives me crazy when people do that. So demonic attachment is it begins to oppress you physically, and demonic obsession is when it begins to attack you on an intellectual level. It's breaking down the intellect and the will. At that time, once that occurs, then possession can occur. As a matter of fact, the person who asked me on Messenger who is rude, I'm blocking you. So I'm not even going to answer your question there. We'll fix that problem right away. I agree. It's nasty. I'm answering. When someone asks me a question and I try to answer it, that means I'm thinking and I'm not looking at other questions because that would be disrespectful. So, but anyway, that's what leads to a possibility of possession. Possession is rare. It does occur, but it is rare. Okay, you're happy to wait, but you have to ask the question again because I didn't see it. Again, I have 4 chat rooms open right here. 4. So you have to ask again, and I'll try my best to grab it if I can see it. Oh, you had a spiritual awakening. Very interesting. Yep, I agree, Leanne. As a matter of fact, again, for those of you, there's a few people on social media that's on Messenger that's kind of saying you always talk about paranormal. Actually, I don't, and I appreciate the thought. But we're here Sundays and Wednesdays, and we do Bible study. I teach Bible study, and I've been teaching Revelation now for how many months? We also have night prayer Monday through Friday. So we do a lot of scripture. So we do a lot of scripture. We love that. We love to have you. Well, yeah, salt and chalk. I mean, there's the belief that salt, the blessed salt, can push away or repel evil. I have found, true, in my opinion, I have found that that does work on some cases, but when you're dealing with the demonic and you're dealing with the cases that I've worked, they've tried blessed salt, and they've even tried the epiphany of the doors on some of the cases that I work, but it was so violent. You have to remember that when you have a demonic infestation, so when you have a demonic that's present, and you do a blessing like the epiphany of the doors, the blessing of the doors, that can be a form of provocation. So you need to understand that. That's provoking. Now, I encourage people to absolutely take a stand and do the blessing of the doors, but you have to be careful with that, because when you do something of this nature, that is provocation. So provocation is not beating your chest and saying, come on, I dare you to do something to me. You're not provoking, you're inviting. So those are two different things, completely two different things. But when you're there and you are praying and you're using what's called sacramentals of the church, like blessed salt, holy water, oil, or chalk, when you do the blessing of the doors, you can have a very violent reaction. And so you have to be prepared for that. So anyway, hopefully that, well, that's fine. That's fine. Welcome. Scariest situation that I've seen in the first one, and I talked about that on the show that I was on as a cast member. Oh, and by the way, someone was asking about, we have not at this time, I don't believe there are plans currently for a season 2. We've not been told anything about that. So the Eli Roth Presents Legion of Exorcists show, my case that I had talked about, I believe that was the first show on the episode, I believe. That was my first case. That was my first exorcism. Not my first case, my first exorcism. And that was that was an eye opener, no pun intended. I mean, but that was a very interesting. You can read about it, then you can study and you can be trained, but until you're actually there and you're in the presence of a true demonic, it is it's a different world. It's a totally different world. Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you. I appreciate you being here. This was the time where I lifted the eyelids, and the eyelids were completely solid black. The face, I mean, the eyes there was nothing in there but just a total blackness. And I had read plenty of case studies where that occurred. But when you were there, and I wasn't the bishop at the time, I was the secondary. So I wasn't the primary, I was the secondary. And so I was the assistant. But I lifted the eyelids, knowing that they could be black. And when they were, it was, but I talked about this, but it was almost like, it wasn't a dull black. It was like a shiny black, like a mirror. I could see my reflection in the eyes. And because of that, I was completely froze. I couldn't think. I couldn't talk. I couldn't move. Couldn't do anything. And so yeah, that was a pretty interesting experience. Anytime, you have to remember that when you have if you have a demonic infestation in your home, and you begin to pray, that is a form of provocation. If I have a demonic infestation case, I will begin to pray the litany of the saints. I am forcing the entity to manifest itself. Now, I tell people all the time, but you can't be afraid. You can't show fear. But if you're going to do this, you have to understand that there could be a reaction. And so people need to be aware of that. But at the same time, you can't be intimidated by it. And you have to have this, you have to have the faith and realize you just keep. So if you're going to do it, you can't be timid. You have to be firm, stern, and push forward. But at the same time, I also tell people you have to know the consequences for this. Because if there is a true demon present, and you're going to pray, and you're going to use the epiphany of the doors, you're going to use sacramentals of the church, holy water, oil, etc. You're You could get a very violent response. You could get, or it could be very minor, and that could be it. But it just depends on the case. There was one time where a family did the Epiphany of the Doors, and I talked to them about this, and they were telling me, it's very violent. And I said, look, I can tell you about it because they had heard about the Epiphany of the Doors. And I told them, I don't think that's a good idea. I really think you need to get clergy involved in this, because the way what you're describing to me is it's very violent. The activity is very violent, because this was not just a banging on the doors or the smell of sulfur, or this was violent. People being bitten, scratched, hair being pulled, someone thrown off the bed. I mean, we're talking that type of violence. So, and I told them, if you do the Epiphany of the Doors, this could be a form of provocation, and that could amplify the activity. So I told them then, just wait, let me try to get involved. Let me try to get to your home. And then the minor rite of exorcism needs to be performed. But they were eager, and they did. And they performed the Epiphany of the Doors. Even I told them not to do it because I didn't think it was a good idea. And they did anyway. And the father was nearly pushed down the stairs. I mean, shoved. And he hit his head on the wall and went right down. And thankfully, he grabbed onto the railing, and because they had wooden stairs. And had he not grabbed onto that railing, terrible things could have happened. I mean, he was shoved. He said, he was shoved hard, and he was pushed to a point where he hit the back so hard on the wall, and then he went down. And so this is what I'm talking about. This stuff is, see, here's the deal. The people say, well, I don't believe in demons. Well, I don't care. Okay. Well, prove to me the demons exist. Sorry, the world doesn't revolve around you, sunshine. Nope. I don't have to prove to you the demons exist. Don't have to. Well, then I don't believe it. Then I don't care. See, I don't have to prove anything to anybody, because Christ already said demons exist. And if Christ said demons exist, then I don't need to prove anything to anybody. Well, I'm a Christian. Then you should believe what Christ told you. It was so important that he bestowed that ministry on his disciples. And so if it wasn't important, and if there are no demons, he would not have bestowed that ministry on his disciples. So I don't have to, I've learned a long time ago, and because people kept telling me, you need to prove to me. And finally I got frustrated with it. I said, and it just came to me. I said, I'm not here to prove to you the demons exist. I'm here to help the families who know they do. That was it. So from now, I got to I was constantly, why are these people understanding? Why are these people getting? But now I got to a point where I was like, okay, if you don't want to believe, fine. I don't care. Okay, it's your choice. But I find it interesting that people say that they're Christian, but yet they deny demonic activity and possession, and yet it's in Scripture. And I think it is, and I think that's what it is. People have not seen it, and they're just interested. They're intrigued. Folks, here's the problem. The old saying, curiosity killed the cat. When you're in the presence of someone who's possessed, you don't want to be there. No one, I think only someone who is sadistic would want to actually be there. And here's why I say that. Because the person is going through extreme physical trauma. I had a person that was possessed, and under possession, the demonic was looking right at me, and just it was a female, and her nails were a little longer, and normally we clip them because they will scratch, and that can be very violent. But the demonic was looking right at me and just grabbed the nail and just yanked it off. And just spit it right at me, and just there was no grimace, there was no reaction to the pain, and there was nothing. It was just nothing, and that was to let me know I have control of this body, not you, and that was a form of intimidation. So things like this can occur, and I don't understand the fascination with it. I don't understand the desire to want to see that, because you're dealing with somebody who is going through severe trauma. This is not entertainment. This is why I will never perform an exorcism on camera. Never. And I never have, never will. This is why I've never charged for the ministry. Never have, never will. And it doesn't make it easy, but I just won't do it. And I will never, ever perform an exorcism on a human being on camera. Will never do, never, under no circumstances. And I have been offered television jobs, nice paying, really great paying jobs, even producer title position, which you get even more money than just being as a cast or talent, as they call it. So here's the deal. People say to me all the time, well, I just don't believe. And I understand that because they haven't seen it. I get it. Totally understand it. But then I say to people, when I talk to them, do you consider me to be at least a person that has some intelligence? Yeah. Okay, fine. Okay, I have, and then I tell them, so, and I don't say this for braggadocious reasons. I'm doing it for clarification. I have a doctorate in ministry. I have a master's of divinity, a master of education, and a master of business. I don't charge for this ministry. I've never charged one penny going to people's homes and blessing their homes. I've never charged one penny for performing an exorcism. Never. If I did not know that exorcisms exist or possession exists, I would do something else with my time. Because I'm not doing this for fame. Because you do things for fame so that you can make money. But I don't make money off this. So there is no fame. There is no money. So the problem is I take those two factors out of the equation so that people can't use those against me. Because people say, well, that's why you're doing it. Your intent is to make money. I don't charge. So try again. And this is, so I would absolutely 1,000,000%, I would be doing something else with my time without question. If I did not know the possession existed, I'd do something else. I certainly wouldn't be, or if I was charging a substantial amount of money, yeah, then you could say, aha, that's why you're doing it. You're making a great living off of it. Well, I'm not. So there it is. And yep, and that's it. That's facts. So, oh, no. This is just, please understand. I've been dealing with haters for over 20 years. I'm very thick-skinned. So this is not me trying to defend myself in any way, shape, form, or fashion. As I just said, I don't care if someone doesn't believe in demons. Okay, well then go talk to your therapist. What do you want me to do about it? So, okay. So there we go. Oh, that's a good one. There's a lot of great questions that I'm able to see. Is it Mackin? What is your opinion on demonic activity through AI technology? Let me tell you something. This is really fascinating. So, folks, I'm answering a question, so I can't answer another question. Isn't it terrible that I have to say that? There are cars, and I don't know what they have. I think they're, I don't know. I have a 20-year-old car or whatever it is. But there are, I think it's a Tesla. And they have this technology on these, I think it's a Tesla, where they're going into graveyards, and these Tesla machines are picking up these images, basically. I'm telling you, it is interesting. It is very interesting. Absolutely. But I will tell you this. Demonic activity can manipulate anything. Technology, absolutely not a problem at all. Because many times, here's what happens. Like, for example, there's a lot of apps. There's a lot of apps, paranormal apps that you can find, you can download. Demonic entities will often use children as a disguise to immediately reduce your defenses, thinking that you are actually speaking to a child when in fact you're not. And so they've done that quite a bit, especially with a Ouija board. They've done that through. I've had cases where people use the technology that they have, the apps, and they think, oh, it's just speaking to a child, and then they start bringing in these technologies in their home, and they start It's not going to hurt. Is there anybody here? Can you say something? Can you make a noise? And then that you're using that technology and then things start coming through. That can trigger demonic infestation, just like that. But I just want, I want you to understand, a lot of people are so frightened of demons, and I understand that perspective, but demonic possession is truly rare. This is not something that happens every day. So I would say I've been debating. There was an exorcism that I performed, and I would say 31 exorcisms in over 20 years. And I get thousands of requests, people thinking that they're possessed all the time, and 31 exorcism in 20 years. So this is really, possession is truly rare, but it does occur. Now, I have seen, absolutely without question, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it, I have seen an increase in demonic, in what's called ordinary demonic activity, meaning that the demons will tempt you to do things that you shouldn't do. And all you got to do, folks, all you have to do is go on social media. Social media has become rife with demonic activity. I have never seen so much hatred, nastiness, evil in my entire life as I have seen lately. It has gotten unbelievably, I can't even, there are no words to put, I've seen it. It's just unbelievable. Even to the point of, like I was talking about, Kevin, that little kid who has a brittle bone disease. The people were making fun of him. A 10-year-old kid going on TikTok. He built a little community, and that's what keeps him going. When he breaks a bone or he's in the hospital, and he's built a beautiful little community there. And people were going on his live making fun of him. And then you want me to prove to me that you want me to prove to you that demons exist? If you can't see that is sadistic, if you can't see that as evil, then I can't prove to you. There's nothing I can prove to you. There's nothing. It is. I mean, what they did to that kid was terrible. Even to the point where he went on to, and he started crying. Asking people, "Why are you doing this? Why are you?" I mean, it was terrible. Terrible. So I have absolutely seen a dramatic increase in evil online. It has been horrible. But that's the thing. You have to keep pushing. You have to keep pushing and push and push and push back, and that's what you got to do. So, I am a demon from hell, Simon says. Well, hey, Simon, let me introduce you to Block. Bye-bye. Simon went back to hell. Anyway, that's what I'm talking about. See what I mean? That's a perfect example right there. So Simon, some guy named Simon on TikTok says, "I'm a demon from hell." See, he just made my point. They're not very bright. They're not very bright, but that's okay. So I guess Simon has been blocked. Simon. Oh boy. Yeah, Simon says, "Bye-bye, Felicia." Okay, that's what Simon says. Bye-bye. All right. Okay, so I know that I've been answering questions, so I haven't been looking at so I will try to pause for a moment to answer more questions that you guys have. By the way, we're going to be here tomorrow. Miss Wilma and I will be here tomorrow. I'm not leaving yet. We're going to be here at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What about the Qumran and Essenes? Will you be bringing? I will have my obelisks. Yeah. I got to tell you, the shadow people. I have had cases where shadow people were violent. Thank you. And where other people, other shadow people, it was not violent at all. The jury is still out about that. It's just it is so across the board. It is so across the board with this, because I've had cases where there were shadow people that was present, that people took pictures of. You clearly see a silhouette of that was not violent, and just the opposite. I don't know. Yeah. We don't know. I mean, there's the belief is the shadow people exist because of that they're human. A lot of people believe they're human spirits that's trying to manifest for a full body apparition. The argument is, the theory is, for a full body apparition takes a great deal of energy. And so to manifest that type of energy, that's why a lot of people will see that they will see shadow people. And no, I'm never alone on an exorcism. Never. Oh, you're welcome. Never, never, never. I will always have an assistant with me. And not only will I have an assistant, but I also will have someone who is trained medically so that they can monitor the vitals. Yeah, a lot of people are asking me about it, and I kind of talked about that in the very beginning. And I know that some people might just be tuning in. There's a lot of people out there that give paranormal investigators a hard time, and that really bothers me. It really gets under my, it just gets under my skin. There are so many people that love to judge, but they're on the sidelines. They're never helping. They're never helping. They don't ever help. So when a family calls me and says, "Look, I really need help. I'm terrified. There's something in my home, and I need help." Well, and I've talked about this earlier, I will call paranormal teams that I know that are credible, that don't think everything is demonic, and they go to people's homes. They don't charge. They're buying the equipment. They're spending hours and hours at a home at a person's house. They don't owe them anything at all, nothing. But they're giving these people their time, their effort, their energy to try to find out what's going on. They present the evidence to me, and then we go from there. And I really am getting sick and tired of people judging paranormal investigators who do this and say they're doing the work of the devil. But the paranormal investigators are the one answering the phone calls at 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. The paranormal investigators are the ones packing up all the equipment in the car, traveling hours to people's homes, whom, again, they don't owe them nothing. The paranormal investigators are the ones that's buying all the equipment. But the people who are bitching about it and complaining about it and judging them, they're doing nothing to help the families who go through the activity. They're doing nothing, but they're offering one thing that they only do is criticize. Oh, they'll offer criticism because it's free. It doesn't require any work. It doesn't require any dedication. And they'll criticize, but they won't offer to help. See, that's hypocrisy. So this is why I absolutely firmly support paranormal investigators who do not charge, who don't think everything is a demon, who are respectful. I work with paranormal investigators who are doctors, who are attorneys, who are police officers, from all spectrums of life. And they go into these people's homes, they investigate, they buy the equipment from their own pocketbook. And I need that because I can't be everywhere at once. I can't be in California one day and Florida the next, and Texas. I can't because I don't charge. So this is why I depend on paranormal investigators, and they do this. And they go to these people's homes and they help. But yet people are going to sit there and judge them and don't offer not one thing but criticism. So, it's well, the problem is we have good teams. We have great teams. But I mean, if I have a team, that's in Kentucky, and there's a family that needs help in California, well, we got a network. So we have teams that are really reputable in California or Florida or Texas or wherever. And they could go and they can investigate. They gather all the evidence because it takes a long time. If you're a paranormal investigator, you know how much time it takes to put all that stuff together. And then you gather and you present it to look at it and I determine what we need to do from there. But I'm just getting sick and tired. I'm really getting fed up with people who call themselves Christians and they sit and judge paranormal investigators and call them all kinds of names but their real name. And yet they're on the sidelines bitching about everything and not doing one thing to help. Never one time do they lift a finger to help. Not one time. But they'll offer criticism. So, bye. Those people I have no patience with. None at all. So, yeah, I don't ever think that's a good idea, user 504. Anytime you start challenging things of this nature because you don't know what you're challenging, and you shouldn't be doing it anyway, that is really dangerous. No, Katrina. Katrina's asking, is there ever a time where you stopped an exorcism because the victim might perish? Thankfully, no. But there was a time that we had to stop to let the person, let the body relax because there was violent regurgitation, which does occur during an exorcism or can occur. So, yeah. And so, we have to be careful about that. Was it scary? Was it scary to investigate on ghost adventures? It wasn't. It wasn't scary. I was just. I was worried about Zach, and not only Zach, but I was also worried about Aaron. Because there was one time when we were in the back and we were at the well, and I was doing the blessing, and then before we went there, I told him, I said, guys, stay with me, stay with me, stay with me. Don't wander off because you're going to hear growls. You're going to hear this. These are going to happen. And of course, I'm friends with Zach, and Zach, he owns apparently, look, he owns Ghost Adventures. It's his job to document, and he heard a growl and he went right towards it. I understand the temptation to do that, but when he came back, there was something different in his eyes, and I knew then, oh boy, we got a problem. So we went to the back where we heard the growl, and then Aaron kept looking, and I was noticing when I was doing the blessing, Aaron kept looking over. Like he had the eye thing or whatever you call it on the thing on the video. It was just them. They didn't have a huge staff. It was just them at that time. And he kept looking over me and just giving me this just evil look. I did it like 3 or 4 times. I mean, it was really evil. And I remember walking past him and he just kind of nudged me with his shoulders. And that's that's not normal for Aaron. Because Aaron is a sweet, he's a really very kind person, really, really kind-hearted person. But that's when, that's when we had some problems. So. No, actually, that's a good question. Would sedating the victim help in an exorcism? No, there was a time where the individual already had anxiety medicine, so we can't sedate them legally because it's actually, unless it's prescribed by a doctor, so it's against the law. But if the person has anxiety medicine, many times, if the person is under the stage of possession, the demonic will not allow that. So if you try to, if you can't force it. So if you try to give the like a calming mechanism down, the person doesn't have control of the body. So the demonic many times will just spit it in your face, or laugh, or mock you. There was I forgot there was one medicine that I can't remember what it was. It starts with a D. I'm not a doctor, but it's a very strong tranquilizer. And the person had this for prescription, and there were some issues with the anxiety. There were some things going on before the person went into transient possession. And she said, I need my medicine. I need my medicine. And I can't remember. It's called a D. And so we gave it to the person, and she even told us this should knock me out. It could be diazepam. That sounds familiar. I think it was diazepam. That sounds familiar. It was a strong, like a knock me out kind of a medicine. And so she took it. And so we calmed her down. She started calming down. And there's 2 types of possession. There's perfect possession where the demonic has full possession of the body. Goodness gracious, is already where it has full possession of the body, and there's transient possession where the demonic will enter the body and leave at will. So she suffered from transient possession. And what I have to do is to force the entity to manifest through provocation. So I do this through the litany of the saints, prayer, etc. And so she had taken it, and it was about 15 minutes, and you can kind of see the body just kind of mellow, and you can kind of see it and then I began the litany of the saints. Her eyes opened up, and there was this blackness to us, but she still had whites. She said it's kind of like a white in her eyes, and she looked right at me, and I'll never forget what the demon says, that drug, whatever it was, that diazepam, give me another, as a form of mockery, saying that if you think this is going to work, watch give me another. And we didn't do it, of course. We didn't give it up, and it started smirking, and then the person went right into transient possession. So yeah, it was. But yeah, I think it was diazepam. All right. For those of you who are, so stick with me on TikTok. I'm not going anywhere. For those of you who are on Spreaker, I'm going to say good night to you guys. Gosh, I can't believe it's already gone. It's already got to close shop. I want to remind everybody that next week, don't forget, folks, next week, we're going to be live at Ashmore Estates, but it's at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So do not forget, 7 p.m. For those of you on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Rumble, KGRADB, and everyone else, remember, I tell you, your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. You're priceless, and don't let anybody tell you or convince you otherwise. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, KGRADB Radio, and Rumble, good night. The Sacred Division has been brought to you by Bishop Long's online paranormal course. Learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. It's 100% online, and you learn at your own pace. Please go to www.bishopjameslong.com and click on the paranormal course link.